Your business was built right here, so was ours. At FNB Bank, we are not run from some distant city. We are run by neighbors, for neighbors. We know what matters to you because it matters to us too. From local decisions to face-to-face service, we are here. Bank local, grow local, stay local. FNB Bank, member FDIC.
You can feel it in the air. Longer days, greener lawns, and plenty of projects waiting around the house. Good thing Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland has you covered. Freshen up your home with Benjamin Moore paint, tackle the yard with powerful Ego battery tools, and give your lawn the boost it needs with Stage 1 Ultimate Fertilizer. Thinking about cooking outside? Check out their great selection of grills, griddles, smokers, and outdoor living essentials. And remember, if you need it, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware probably has it. They even have milk. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your place for just about everything.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
There is a benefit to building a team and keeping it together for the length of time. But that does not happen anymore because of the portal and NIL and money.
The High Plains only local sports talk show, broadcasting live on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 and video streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps to the pros.
It's gone! Watch it fly! Jack Caglione, his first big league home run!
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, along with
Pestaway LLC, Topside Portables and Pumping, Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell, and the Insurance Agency.
Let's go to work.
First pitch to Ricky is lifted out towards left, and it's going to get down. In comes to score Ellie Everett. The Cowgirls will not get shut out. An RBI hit for Alyssa Rickard, the 2-2. Lifted out towards left field, hit well. And deep, going back Natalie Cure, and watches it go over the fence for a 2-run homer. Second home run of the season for Morgan Hills. Hit one last Friday at Lincoln and gets her second one here today. And a 2-run shot makes it 6-1 Lady Eagles here in the top of the fourth.
Lost for a while for sure. There's a drive to left, high and way out of here. Off the railing of the third deck. Touch 'em all time. Hunter Goodman is first of the year.
Happy Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome to the month of April. April the 1st. Glad you decided to join us here on the Morning Blitz on Rocket 102.5, KLOE, and WKSradio.net, and the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Thank you so much for making it part of your morning, no matter which way you are doing so. A nice, crisp, and cool start to the day. Temperatures at 36 degrees right now. Overcast skies outside the KLOE studios here in Goodland, and just hoping, praying, and waiting maybe for a little bit of the wet stuff. Coming up later on tonight, a 50% chance of rain after we deal with more cooler, probably the coolest day of the week. Temperatures in around the upper 50s today. Lower 60s maybe, but winds are going to be windy again. But hopefully some of the wet stuff tonight, 50% chance of that. And then later, this afternoon, this evening, and then tonight, another 50% chance of some of the wet stuff. So hoping for that and hoping and praying we get some moisture. Golly, we could absolutely use it. It's funny to visit with people, a little bit about. I was visiting with Tess Smith, Goodland Cowgirl softball coach yesterday, as well as assistant Joy Brown, and they both said, we got to find a new place to live. I said we have to find a new place to live that we can go live, because we cannot deal with this wind and this dryness all the time. It's rough. It's absolutely rough. And I was laughing this morning because on the Good Neighbor Hour, listener Tim chimes in from Kansas City with his rainfall reports, and he's got like 4 since the start of the new year, and everywhere else has got maybe 1, maybe. And I'm just like, I told Raleigh, he's just rubbing it in everybody's faces that he's got more rain out there than the rest of us. But hopefully we're going to get some of that precipitation here today. 50% chance this afternoon, and then another 50% chance here this evening. Gosh, I hope so. Would love to get a nice, I could go for about a 2-day, 3-day, just nice light soaking rain. But any precipitation will be definitely taken for sure. We will certainly take it. But coming up on today's program, we've got plenty to get to. Our good friend Joe Tillery, he was scheduled to join us Monday, was under the weather. He's feeling better today, and he will join us coming up in our second segment. Our good friend from the Joe Tillery Show. He used to work for Heartland College Sports. He's no longer doing that. He's actually taking a pretty interesting job helping raise money for children's hospitals. But he's still a big part, still follows K-State athletics as good as anybody. He does his own show on YouTube, the Joe Tillery Show. And so Joe will join us on the program. We'll talk on K-State spring football as it has gotten underway. We'll touch on the new men's head basketball coach, Casey Alexander. So we'll get to all that with Joe Tillery coming up here in segment number 2 today. We will touch on a Rockies loss last night. We'll update you on the world of college baseball from yesterday. Oh, and Colby High School football has a new coach. We saw that news yesterday. We'll get to that all coming up in our third segment here today. But lots to get to here in our first segment, including probably the big news in women's college basketball, at least in this part of the world. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit as well. But wanted to get things started on the show, talking a little bit about what I witnessed yesterday with softball and baseball for Colby Goodland softball and Goodland baseball. So we'll get to that in just a matter of moments. As always, another friendly reminder that the F&B Bank text line is open at 785-899-2222. And why not, Jared? Officer Jared said he is going to have a Dear Ross. We joked about this yesterday. A Dear Ross every single day. That was his challenge, was to do one of these every single day or pretty darn close to it. And so we'll start off the day with Dear Ross. I'm going to have to get some music for this, Jared. I feel like I need some really concerning music, some deep thought music. I'll see if I can find some like that. But we'll start off the show with a Dear Ross here on the FB Bank text line from Officer Jared. Dear Ross, I'm in an abusive relationship with the Colorado Rockies, that is. 1 minute, I love them. They win. The next minute, they break my heart. They lose. What should I do? Well, Jared, the easy answer would be get another team. But that's not possible, is it? I mean, we're fans. We're fans. We love our team. And we love our team to death, and we'll stick through them through thick and thin. Real fans do that. I got a lot of issues with other fans out there, the fair weather fans. The fans are only there for the good times, not for the bad. That's what makes me mad. There are college sports teams in the area that are like that we're only there for the good. We're not showing up for the bad. That's what I don't like. Depending on the sport. But if they're only there for the good, if they're having a bad season, we're not showing up. We're not going to be there. I don't like that. That's not real fandom. Fans are there through the thick and through the thin. So that's one thing that's a big bugaboo to me, being a thing. So from your perspective, though, once again, here on Dear Ross with a question about this fandom for the Rockies, we've talked about it many times before, Jared, is that, here's the thing, Jared. I think, honestly, this is going to be a rough year. Yes, they're probably going to have 100 losses after this 1-4 start. I would agree. But you have to admit, you have to have some sort of optimism knowing that there was at least a pulse in the offseason of going out and signing some different players and probably more importantly, making a bunch of changes in the front office. We're not guaranteeing that that's going to result in a bunch of wins. Not saying that's what's going to happen. You're not going to have a bunch of wins probably this year with the moves. But the front office has shown a pulse. They have brought some people in that have at least some ideas and are trying something. Now, will it work? We don't know, but it might. So at least there's a pulse for the Rockies. At least there is a pulse in the front office. And that's going to, I would think, result in some better things. I've always said the Rockies have got to find a way to be a team that plays to their strengths. You have to find pitchers that are really good at getting ground ball outs, keeping the ball in the yard. They make such things as fly ball pitchers and ground out pitchers. Find the ones that are really good at getting ground balls, sinker guys, splitter guys, those type of guys. Get those guys in and teach them how to pitch low in the zone. so that you're not giving up a bunch of long balls to the opposition who love to come to Coors Field and hit a lot of long balls. And on the flip side of it, go out there and get yourself a team of mashers that just launch baseballs all the time. Yes, there may be a ton of strikeouts, but guys that just go out there and mash. And so they use this massive yard. Guys with a lot of speed that hit doubles and triples, and guys out there that just absolutely mash. Yeah, they may strike out a bunch or whatever. Get those guys that hit extra bases a lot of the time. I think that's what the Rockies need to do. Those are two things that I would do if I'm a front office person. That's what I would do if it was me. So, yes, thank you for that, Ross. But once again, keep your head up. You know, you're a phantom of a team, and we appreciate your fandom, even those things. And hey, I see you're going to Coors Field this weekend, Officer Jared. That's awesome. I love going to Coors Field. I love going there. It's a great time. Even if the baseball is not good by the Rockies, it's great to watch the other teams. And that's a reason why the Monforts don't spend a lot of money on the team, because they have other fans come to watch the other teams and spend money in that beautiful ballpark and have a great evening. It's a lot of fun. I do it myself. So have fun. Coors Field this weekend, Officer Jared, and thank you for Dear Ross. I'm sorry about your Rockies. It is going to be another long season, but it's okay. It's okay. Things will get better in the future, just probably not this season. Thank you, Officer Jared, for another edition of Dear Ross here on the Morning Blitz. Brian says Rockies are already eliminated from the playoffs this year. Michael is offering a trade. He says he will trade you Cora for Schaefer. So he'll trade you managers if you'd like. He also says he feels his Red Sox stink too. Hopefully they'll turn around. I think the Red Sox have a better shot of turning it around, Michael, than the Rockies do. No doubt about that. And yes, so thank you, Officer Jared, for another edition of Dear Ross. We're going to make that a segment on this show. Thank you, Officer Jared. Moving on here on the Morning Blitz in segment number 1. Colby baseball Colby softball, Goodland softball facing off yesterday. Goodland baseball in action against Burlington yesterday over at Centennial Park in Goodland. I was there covering the softball games and saw kind of what I thought I might see. A couple of dominant wins for the Colby Lady Eagles. They took game 1 15-1 in 6 innings, and then followed that up with a win in game number 2, 16-2. That game over in 5 innings. Colby, I've said it many times before. I don't know how they do it, but credit to them and their coaching. I mean, they know how to hit the softball and the baseball. They know how to hit over there. They're a really good hitting team, and particularly against Goodland. I don't know, maybe it's the Goodland pitching. I'm not for sure what it is, but they find a way to score a bunch of runs, and they hit. They absolutely mash. I think they had 6 or 7. I think it's 6 extra base hits, including another home run from Morgan Hills, their second of the season, multiple doubles from Ryler Carter and Micah Nolan. They just know how to hit the softball with authority. And in comparison, Goodland just doesn't know how to do that very well. There's not a lot of players for both baseball or softball that know how to hit the ball with any sort of intent or any sort of intensity that results in extra base hits a whole lot. Yesterday for the Cowgirls, they had maybe a couple of decent hard hit balls, but went right at defenders, whereas Colby seems to put those balls in the gaps and get a lot of runs because of it. So, and then they have a great pitcher in junior Ryler Carter, who's I think already up to 25, 26 strikeouts on the season. She's really good. If you have one really good pitcher and you've got a team that can hit, and then Colby also, to their credit, really good defensively. Only had 1 error over the doubleheader. And you can play really good defense, you're going to win a lot of games. And that's what Colby does, both in baseball and in softball, from what I've seen in the first couple games of the season for both the baseball and the softball team. Colby's going to have a good year because they do those things well. They hit well, they throw strikes, and they play good defense. That's going to win you a lot of games. On the flip side, the Cowgirls pitch pretty decent. Struggled a little bit with command. Some too many free passes issued yesterday. But didn't have any hits that were just big bopping hits. No home runs. No extra. Not an extra base hit the entire doubleheader for Cowgirl softball yesterday. And defense solid at times, but there were unfortunately some errors that happened at inopportune times that resulted in big innings for Colby. And you can't have that when you're playing against good teams. You got to play clean ball, and those are things that the Cowgirls and that Coach Tess Smith knows that they'll have to get cleaned up, and they will get cleaned up. Cowgirl softball particularly has not been a fast starting team the last few years. They've started slow. I mean, they may start with, only 2 wins out of their first 4 or 5 series, but then they pick up steam down the stretch and are pretty competitive by the time they get to when it matters most in the postseason. That's what really matters too. But tip of the cap to Colby. I mean, every year they seem to come and play Goodland, and they take care of business. They score a bunch of runs, they play solid defense, and they pitch really well, and it's all from there. Give a lot of credit to their baseball and softball teams with great performances this year against Goodland, and they're going to have great years, I think, coming up here as well for them. And then a shout out to Goodland Cowboy Baseball and Coach Austin Abelar. They get their first win of the season yesterday in a split with Burlington. How about game? I mean, talk about a game of complete and total opposites. A series of complete opposites for the Cowboys. My goodness, it was impressive that the Cowboys go out there with limited pitching depth and get into a pitcher's duel in game number 1 against Burlington. And they get a win 1-0 yesterday in that game against Burlington. I mean, the Cowboys only had 3 hits in that game. Burlington only had 3 hits in that game, but Goodland got the 1 run in the bottom of the first, and that's all they needed. Tip of the cap to Deegan Knox, who went out there and worked a complete game 4-hitter with 9 strikeouts, only 1 walk. That'll work. Deegan Knox, by the way, also scored the lone run in the bottom of the first, and that was enough that the Cowboys needed to win 1-0. What a game number 1. Very interesting game. As Deegan Knox and Daxton Scarple for Burlington just went out there and dueled with each other. But it was Knox with a great performance. That was a career high in innings pitched and strikeouts. It was a great performance from Deegan Knox, and the Cowboys get their first win there in game number 1. That was very entertaining to see. And then game number 2, it's one of those games where you kind of want to turn away, not because of the outcome, not because of who won or anything like that. Burlington won 24-12. It's because of 24-12. That's a football score in the game of baseball. That's a football score. Burlington put up 7 in the first, had a 6th spot in the 4th. Goodland got better in the 4th and the 5th as teams didn't have enough arms. And but Goodland loses 24-12. That's a football score. And those are the type of games, particularly from a broadcast, you're like, why are we watching this game? Can we just get 3 outs? Please. But nonetheless, I think overall a successful day for Cowboy baseball. They get their first win. Once again, it's a team that doesn't have a lot of numbers and extremely young. So great to see them have some success and get a win there against Burlington, their first win of the season, first win of the Abelar era. And we'll see what Goodland can do here Thursday when they take on Garden City, which we will have coverage of that series here on Rocket 102.5 KLOE. That's on Thursday afternoon. There you go. So that's an update from the Diamond yesterday, what I saw and what I thought, what's some thoughts on that. So congratulations to Cowboy Baseball getting their first win. Lady Eagles softball off to a 4-0 start after that sweep of Goodland yesterday. One more stop here before we get to a timeout here and bring on Joe Tillery. Got to bring up the news yesterday that came out, was it just after lunch? I feel like it was pretty close to that, but former Fort Hays State and Goodland cowgirl Telex Weeder is a cowgirl again. She is going to Oklahoma State. I was trying to think about this last night. I don't know if I said on the show at any point in time, because I had some people text me and say, what did you think about this? And I don't know if I said it on the show, but I know I said it in my head. I said, man, it would not surprise me one bit if she goes to Oklahoma State. It would not surprise me one bit if that is where she goes. And that's where she ended up going. Did Telexa Weeder to Oklahoma State to play with former Hoxie and Northwest Kansas native J.C. Hoyt, the head coach down there. I think it's a great fit. She'll be comfortable with someone kind of from her area. And she gets to play Division I basketball, which I think that's probably the biggest thing. She had interest, I think, from Kansas State, Nebraska, Oklahoma. She had plenty of regional schools that were interested in her, but she goes to a place I think it's going to be more comfortable for her as a person and as a basketball player, which should result in great things for her. But I was doing some more reading on kind of the situation down there in Stillwater with J.C. Hoyt. That was a team that had a pretty good record this year. Finished, I think, top 5 in the Big 12. Had a blunder in the Big 12 tournament, unfortunately, but still made the NCAA tournament and won their first game, got a win there in the first round, then knocked out by UCLA because that's what UCLA does. They're in the Final Four. But it was a good season for Coach Hoyt, trying to resurrect this women's basketball program. But I thought it was fascinating to read that next year, it looks like as if Oklahoma State is going to be only returning one key contributor from last year's team. Otherwise, everybody else is either hitting the portal or graduating. And so they're pretty much starting over. And I think that's fascinating because that allows a girl like Telexa to go and make an impact right away and maybe even be the key cog in the lineup. Maybe. I don't know. I'm fascinated. Depends on who else they bring in, but she's kind of the first addition after all this subtraction for Oklahoma State, and be so fascinated to see what she can do here in this coming year to put herself in a position to be a big time player there in the Big 12. So happy for her. Wish her nothing but the best. Hope to actually get her on the show at some point in time. I've been in contact with her, but it's kind of been touch and go a little bit. Understandably so. She's been very busy, but fascinated to see what she will do at Oklahoma State. I think it is a good spot for her for many reasons, and hopefully that leads to really good success for her down the line. And I think, once again, if she's in the right mind spot, she can play with the best of them, and she can be a big-time contributor for Oklahoma State, and that could mean big-time things. That means she could be, on the national stage doing some big-time things for OSU, because I think they've got a great coach, and they've experienced some success here recently, making to the tournament, winning a game. We'll see if they can build upon that. But once again, it's interesting that it's going to come in, and she's kind of the first piece of a whole new roster for the most part for Oklahoma State. And I thought that was fascinating. But congratulations to Lex Sweeter on becoming an Oklahoma State Cowgirl yesterday and living out her dream of playing Division I college basketball. That is super cool. Okay, 7:28 Mountain, 8:28 Central Time on a Wednesday morning. We will take a timeout and we return. Our good friend Joe Tillery waiting patiently. We will visit with him about some K-State news and notes. Next, you're listening to the Morning Blitz here on this Wednesday.
At Next Tech Wireless, we built a network for Kansans by Kansans. But just because our roots are here, it doesn't mean your adventures have to be. Take that trip, explore new places, make new memories. You can count on reliable service every step of the way. Bring your number to us to get unlimited data plus a Samsung Galaxy S26 for as low as $25 a month. Next Tech Wireless, connecting Kansans for 20 years, wherever life takes you.
The newest evolution of Farmall elevates performance, comfort, and styling to continue the legacy of this legendary tractor. The new Farmall Medium Utility C-Series features 4 models that combine power and technology for use on the farm and in the field. Field Ops connectivity enables geolocation and remote monitoring of machine functions, while a heavy-duty front axle, increased hydraulic flow, and more rear lift capacity provide the power to handle more work with ease. Case IH, built by farmers. Stop by Colby Ag Center in Colby, Kansas today to find out more about the all-new Farmall C.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with Skyland Grain. Today is Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. Grain markets weaker this morning. May corn lower 5 3/4 at 452 3/4. July down 5 1/2 at 463 1/2. September down 5 1/4 at 465 3/4. Dees corn down 5 1/4 at 479 3/4. May soybeans down 9 cents on the overnights at 11.63. July down 9 at 11.78 1/4. August down 8 3/4 at 11.75 1/2. September beans down 6 3/4 at 11.51 3/4. Kansas City wheat, the May contract lower 13 1/4 at 622 1/4. July hard red wheat down 12 at 636 1/4. September down 12 1/2 at 649 1/4. December hard wheat down 11 3/4 at 666 1/4. Chicago wheat, the May contract lower 13 3/4 at 604 1/2. July down 13 1/2 at 615 1/4. September down 13 3/4 at 627 1/4. December soft wheat down 13 1/4 at 643 3/4. On the equity side of things this morning, the Dow Jones up $175 at 46,757. The S&P up 25 at 6,000. $4,596. Gold higher $76 an ounce at $4,755. Crude oil down $1.03 a barrel at $100.35. If you have any questions about risk management options, call our Kansas City office, Tyler Ghosh, Tom Sluto, or Jared Law at 913-748-3000.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades. Saturday night, June 27th, 2026. An incredible evening at the Colby Event Center. NWKS Radio presents Colin Ray in concert.
And between now and then, until I see you again, I'll be loving you.
Colin Ray's biggest country hits.
Love me. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Tickets available now at nwksradio.net. nwksradio.net. Get them now.
That's when I knew you were my kind of girl.
Country music legend Colin Ray, Saturday night, June 27th, 2026, at the Colby Event Center, presented by NWKS Radio.
All the sports you love, all in one place.
Ooh, this will come in handy.
This is the Morning Blitz.
Rolling along on a Wednesday program here on the 1st of April. Glad that you are with us on the Morning Blitz. No matter which way you are tuning in and making us part of your Wednesday, we appreciate you doing so. We will get to some Rockies baseball, what happened last night, some college baseball, and Colby football, high school football, has a new football coach. We'll get to that all coming up in our third segment, but we are pleased to welcome onto the show our good friend Joe Tillery from the Joe Tillery Show. Joe, good morning. How are we doing today, amigo?
Good morning. I have to apologize. My wife's got my normal setup today in use, so I'm in the second bedroom, so that's why I've got the all interrogation room set up behind me going.
Yeah, you're in the interrogation room. Hey, you know what? That's all right. It don't look all that bad, buddy. It looks okay.
It'll do good. I could have chosen a different colored shirt with the wall, but it was already in motion.
He's just a floating head. He's a floating head. Joe, hopefully you're feeling better. A little under the weather there earlier this week. Looks like you're feeling all right. Good to see.
Yes, sir. I'm doing a little bit better. I've got a little bit of a cough and a cold going through, but hanging in there, doing good enough to talk sports for sure.
Well, I tell you, I'm glad. First of all, congratulations on the new move. Saw that you are going to be doing some great work for a great cause coming up here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So for the past 4 years, I've been with Heartland College Sports. For those that aren't aware, we cover the Big 12 Conference for baseball, softball, football, and then also baseball, softball, football, basketball. For some reason, forgetting basketball in March is crazy. But so I've been doing that for the past 4 years, and it kind of got to the point where a new opportunity fell into place at a charity called Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. And so it's, a national brand. They've got local hospitals for kids in every state, and it's really about helping support patients and parents go through situations when, if your kid breaks a leg, if they've got a, intense situation in the hospital, whether it's disease related or it's just an immediate thing. It's a foundation that really supports people in the areas you don't want to worry about. So, they fundraise for special operations that a kid might need for their process to get healthier, to get on the mend, but it also helps out families with like gas cards. If you have to drive 2.5 hours to a different hospital. So I've got an opportunity there with the fundraising team. So it's a new opportunity for me, but I've been aware of the charity since I was like 11 years old and kind of known some of the people over there. And so something fell into place and it just kind of worked out to be the right situation to make a move.
Well, it's awesome, man. So we're happy for you and still glad that you're able to come on and visit with us every now and then, because I know you still love to follow K-State sports in particular and have a good beat on the pulse there at KSU. With that, let's jump into, spring football is underway for Kansas State. It's the first spring underneath Coach Klein. How excited are you for this first spring? And at the same time, what are you hoping to maybe pick up or learn from this first spring underneath Coach Klein?
I got to tell you, I'm so excited. It's kind of like been that feeling you have as a kid waking up on Christmas morning, but Unfortunately, that's like every day for the next 4 months, it feels like. But so that's a little bit of anxiety there in a good way. But man, I watched some of the practice film yesterday. They had their first open practice there in Manhattan, and Colin Klein's walking on. He's wearing the visor. The dude feels like a true disciple of Bill Snyder. Like, he's quiet, he's calculated, he's not, just taking all his time with the offense, which I think some people thought that would be kind of the main thing. But the dude's so well-rounded with every position group, and I know that's kind of the bare minimum for a head coach. But I'm super duper excited to see how this team comes together. There's a lot of question marks, and I think for a long time, K-State's done this under Chris Kleiman, under Bill Snyder, hopefully now under Colin Klein, where they've had sustained success outside of isolated years. And with that comes the territory of, okay, this team has real expectations every single year. I think for the team to take a step back in expectation, it kind of sets a better runway going forward for this team to kind of build who they are, build their identity, rather than just kind of being, pigeonholed into this idea of, okay, we're going to run the football, we're going to defend hard, we're going to do all the things that Kansas State does. It kind of gives them this opportunity to figure out who they are. And outside of, obviously you've got Avery Johnson coming back, 4th year. For how talented he's been, he hasn't shown it consistently. He's shown flashes and he's been a great player, but he hasn't been the guy you recruited him to be, that next level quarterback that can take you to the playoff, go from there. But there's a lot of variables that come with that, and it doesn't just fall squarely on him. But I think what they've done is they've identified a lot of their key needs in the portal. And sometimes under first-year head coaches, you don't see the immediate payoff of, we got everybody we wanted. We wanted this guy. We retained this guy. You kept your star quarterback. You kept several key pieces on the defense. And they added guys at position groups you needed help in. Like, both starting defensive ends this year go to Indiana. Tobias Nsomni, Chidi Obiizer are going to the national champion. You're not really going to compete with Indiana. You're just not, at least at present day. And they go out and they get guys like Wendell Gregory from Oklahoma State, who's a stud. You go out, you get Elijah Hill from, it's a smaller mid-major college. I apologize that I'm blanking right now. But they added depth here and there. But I'm hoping to pick up not just that, okay, this guy looks the part. This guy, he's solid muscle. He's done this. And they've broken a ton of program records already. Lincoln Cure, Goodland kid, obviously, is added the most muscle mass of any player on the team while losing the most fat, which is kind of funny because I don't think that guy has much fat on his body in general. That dude's pretty lean. But you kind of want to pick up early identities of what this team can be under this new leadership.
Joe Tillery is our guest from the Joe Tillery Show, talking K-State spring football, which just got underway. What do you think will be the biggest difference between what we've seen the past couple of years with Kleiman and when it comes to, coaching this team, leading this team in comparison to what Klein's going to bring?
Well, it's a great question, honestly, because, they have such similar track records in terms of how they've operated business. They have their 4 pillars of excellence. I'm going to forget them right now, but it's commitment, toughness, be selfless, and there's a 4th one I forget. That's why I'm not playing football. But they're going to have very similar general ideas of the program of how it should be run. I mean, it is a special place. Anybody that's been to Manhattan understands, and everybody that's watched them on TV, you see the culture that's been there forever, established under Bill, and then taken on to the next range. And Chris Kleiman was such a good proponent of who Kansas State needed at the right time. And he did it the right way. He's truly one of the good guys in the industry. He found stability in a era where there's not much stability to go around. But I think the biggest difference that you're going to see at face value is kind of style points. Colin Klein has a sexy offense. That dude, if you're a quarterback, you want to play in that offense. If you're a running back, you want to play in this offense. Receiver, same thing. And, for all it's worth, Chris Kleiman's had really good offenses at times. Obviously, the 2022 Big 12 championship year with Will Howard, Deuce Vaughn, and all those guys. But, you need stars on the football field to make that offense go. Colin Klein feels like the type of guy that can take whatever's there and turn it into something incredible. And that's not to say that there's not enough stars on this team. Jerron Tibbs is a great player to come back. Lincoln Cure is looking to take another step forward. I'm hoping for him this year. A couple receivers in the portal that I'm excited about. Josh Manning from Missouri. But I think in general, you're going to see a little bit more flash than you've seen in years past under Colin Klein.
Particularly offensively, you would.
Yes.
Correct? Yeah. I don't know. It's this whole Colin Klein thing, from my perspective, Joe, has been it's almost been like, from a Nebraska fan perspective, with the returning of Scott Frost. There's so much juice and so much hype and so much excitement and buzz and all this stuff. I just hope K-State fans don't experience the same type of heartbreak that happened for Nebraska fans. I mean, is there any part of this just like, okay, this is all great, it's been awesome, but we got to see it on the field. We have to. I'm not saying temper expectations, but we can't just be all the time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's something that showed up in the comment sections a couple times. People being like, "Man, I hope it's not a Scott Frost situation," and I get that from the outside looking in. I think you said it right there best. You should temper expectations slightly. Obviously, right now it's April and everybody can dream of the playoff and Avery Johnson Heisman and all this, but like the reality of the situation is, last year you're coming off a 6-6 season. Most of your stars on that team either left or stayed, but it wasn't enough pieces to say, okay, this is the same team with a few complementary pieces. They had to go out and add guys that can actually impact winning on multiple fronts. And so for me, I think like as a first-year head coach, and let's, keep it in context, like Colin Klein's never been a head coach. He's done every other role offensively in college football, and he's led some great offenses, obviously at Kansas State and Texas A&M. But, you hope that he's learned from the right guys. You hope that he's learned being a player under Bill Snyder, being, offensive coordinator and a bunch of other positions under Chris Klein, and then offensive coordinator in College Station. He's been surrounded with guys that understand the business. And that's not to say Scott Frost hadn't. Obviously, that guy had already had, some success in his career leading into Nebraska. But with Colin Klein, the biggest thing for me is like, if you get to 7 wins and you do it the right way and you retain and build for the future, I think people should be over the moon. And that's not to say that they can't break into that like 9-win team, 10-win team category. Their schedule is surprisingly light this year, but I also feel like I say that every year. And then, a BYU comes out of nowhere and is one of the best teams in college football. Or Texas Tech, who we knew was going to be good, is playoff level team, incredible defense. Excuse me. But I think if people look at it and they say, you know what, if Colin Klein can get to a bowl game, a win or two more than that, and really develop, I think that's got to be viewed as an absolute win.
Well, I would think so in year number 1. I don't know who's sitting there saying we got to have a college football playoff appearance in our first year. Yeah. Underneath Colin Klein. That seems a little ridiculous. So Joe Tillery, our guest here on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. I guess I want to hit one more time on football here, but you've talked about, Texas Tech and BYU and some other programs that have really put forth the money to have a great football team out there on the field. K-State, I don't think is going to be on the same playing level as a Texas Tech. Obviously, they definitely have good boosters and they're going to put together a good team. How much of this, though, do you put more faith in Colin Klein being a better recruiter of great talent and bringing it in with the bunny, or do you think him of being more of, I'll say, Signetti-like, great talent evaluator and developer, putting it together to have that success? What do you think he'll be?
Well, ideally both, honestly, but
obviously, but not.
But I think of it a little bit of both ways. So Kansas State in recent years, from the NIL perspective, both in basketball and football, they've leveled up their game. It feels like they've found coaches that can really bring it out of guys. Now we'll see what happens with Casey Alexander. Jerome Tang, for all his issues, was great at raising money. Obviously didn't put it to good use. But on the football field, I think, they made the hire, and that's a layup. You have to make the hire no matter what. You can't pick anybody else. If Colin Klein's there, he's your head coach. He's done such a good job at, one, being the face of a program for 20 years, honestly. I mean, every dude that wants to pitch in money is having flashbacks of Colin Klein, running the football 30 times a game. And so that's really driven up donor support. But truly, that dude is an elite recruiter. And from what I've heard from some of my guys, I've got some buddies on staff and here and there, they are, for the first time in what feels like 20 years, well, really ever, honestly, running the program like an SEC team would run their program. And I hate doing the whole SEC, Big Ten, ACC, like I'm all Big 12 all the day. Everybody else is awful. But realistically, from an inside perspective, the way that Kansas State's operating on recruiting fronts, on NIL backing, on all this stuff, they've got so many guys with SEC experience. And, hey, this is how we've done it here. Obviously, Colin Klein at A&M, the dude is a savage recruiter. And the developmental side, that's one where I'm going to have to wait and see, because we won't know, until that first ball is dropped or the first, issue happens. Okay, what was the situation? Did it happen because of, all right, it was a bad throw from Avery. It was a bad, couldn't get off a block, you held here and there. Like, I think the discipline and the development are the two things that have yet to be seen. And that's not something you're necessarily going to pick up in spring ball, but I do like his demeanor. I like all those things he does, but it's about, what can you put on the football field? It's always judged on wins and losses.
Joe Tillery, our guest here on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. I want to get to some basketball here before we let you go. What was your reaction when you heard Casey Alexander, or read Casey Alexander, head coach of Kansas State? And then your thoughts after seeing him in the press conference and where you stand right now.
Yeah, so initially I was at a wedding outside of Nashville, and I drove about 40 hours in about a week. Drove from Kansas City to outside of Knoxville, Tennessee, drove 10 hours south to Destin for a family trip, and then drove 14 and a half hours straight back, which, if that's not the most Midwestern thing, I don't know what is. But I needed to sleep for like 3 days after all that. But at the time, we were at a wedding in Knoxville, and I looked down at my phone, and I got like 9 different texts. And I was like, all right, something must have happened. Check social media. Obviously, Casey Alexander's the guy. Initial reaction was a little disappointed because I wanted Jared Calhoun. I think anybody in the program would say similar, but man, seeing the way Casey Alexander has operated in private and going back and looking at his track record of developed players, like at a school like Belmont, you're just not going to retain top talent. Like obviously Jacoby Gillespie on Tennessee, Malik Dia at Ole Miss. You've had guys like Ben Shepherd in the NBA getting NBA minutes. And you can't compete with, SEC teams or Big 12 teams that come in and poach your talent every year. But the way that dude has done it, it's finding these underrated kids and developing them into stars. I mean, Jacoby Gillespie, I look back at his recruiting profile, the guy was going to play wide receiver at like Charlotte. He wasn't even playing basketball. Casey Alexander finds him, develops into eventually a first-team All-SEC point guard. But when you look at a guy like that, he's done it for so long on a budget, I would say less than $1 million. I can't imagine it's much more than that, if it's anything more than that, at a school like Belmont, and competed in the Nashville area. You bring him to Kansas State, you surround him with, elite money, kind of because guys are so tired of losing at Kansas State that they've started putting in a lot of money. I mean, Jerome Tang, they gave a lot of money and it didn't result in wins. So it's one way to do it. You just have to have the right guy to develop talent and find the right guys. I was initially disappointed, but I've really enjoyed him in press conferences, mostly like he's not saying any trigger words or any key words that really get people like, oh yeah, now it's going to be this way. Now it's going to be this way. It's like, I view it as a real Chris Kleiman-like hire where it might not be the sexiest hire at face value, but he might be the guy you need to get back to, okay, we have a solid program. We're recruiting freshmen. We're developing players. It's not 12 new dudes from the transfer portal every year. So after taking some time to think about it, crunching the numbers, doing some metrics, I'm actually really, really excited for the team.
I just think the biggest thing that I heard from him, and not that I expect any other coach to say anything differently, but we talked about retention of players, and that to me, I think was the biggest problem with Kansas State is that every year, like you said, they were starting over with pretty much 12 new guys, and it's hard unless you just hit on black, you hit it, it ain't going to work. And that's what's happened to Kansas State basketball the last few years.
Absolutely. I mean, you saw it year after year in Jerome Tang, and like, I always hated the idea, and I don't know what it was inside the building. I can't speak for the guys, so take this with a grain of salt, but at face value, I always hate the idea of saying, all right, we've got this stud kid. First guy that comes to mind is like Cam Carter. You've got a kid you developed, you found him in the portal, buy on him, turned him into a really good player, averaging whatever, 13, 5, and 4. I forget what 13, 5, and 3, whatever Cam was averaging. And then it's the end of the season evaluation. There's a lot of guys that can provide value. The issue is you're letting a guy like Cam Carter walk out the door, and it wasn't about money. They had the money to pay the guy. They didn't. They chose to go elsewhere because they thought they could find a better player to do something similar. And it's like, dude, you're going to pay $2 million from a kid who put up those numbers at a mid-major school, and you're hoping they're the same player, when you can pay, an okay rate for a guy to come back and stay, and people have jerseys, people know the names, people know the faces. And it's this idea that the grass isn't always greener. I mean, it's a tale as old as time, and it felt like every year in the transfer portal, suddenly the grass all of a sudden was perfectly green. It's been fertilized, grass seed, everything's down. Instead of just sticking where your roots are and saying, all right, we got to develop these guys into a team and then add a couple pieces here and there.
When you have a new basketball coach and a new football coach in the same year, that's a lot of changeover, also a lot of excitement. If you had to put your money down on one coach to experience more success at the 5-year mark, who would it be?
The 5-year mark is interesting, but I'll explain why. But immediately, I think it's Colin Klein. I think the program is in a more stable state right now.
Obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious, but it's obvious. But I think about it, and it's like with Casey Alexander, I think the only thing is it's easier to win in college basketball than it is in college football. So that's why I take it with a grain of salt in that sense, is if you put together a roster of 7 really, really good players, you can compete for a national championship. Now, you have to do that in Manhattan, Kansas. You got to put a lot of money out. You have to build the program the right way. And, I've seen guys like Bruce Weber who have to build up for the next 5 years to get a competitive squad. And I don't think that's what Casey's going to do. I think the portal's made talent everywhere and readily available. But Colin Klein's going to have this program developed and honed in by year 5, where guys are rolling through. They've got, solid quarterbacks. They've got good skill position. I just feel like as a whole where the program's at, you're starting at a higher floor than where you are at Kansas State basketball. And that gives me more faith and more, belief in the guy that's been there and done it as a player and as a coach at multiple levels, rather than a guy that's just coming in to learn the program.
No, I would agree with you on that. Joe Tillery from the Joe Tiller Show. Joe, thank you so much for the time, my friend. Best of luck with the new job. We'll catch up down the road, okay?
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Once again, great stuff there from Joe Tillery here on the Morning Blitz. It's always great to have him on and catch up on all things happening with Kansas State and great stuff like that. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show with some baseball talk, and Colby High School football has a new coach. We'll get to that all next here in the Blitz.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
The days are getting longer, the roads are calling, and it's a great time to upgrade your ride at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get 1.9% APR for 36 months on a 2026 GMC Terrain, the perfect SUV for wherever the road takes you. Need a truck? Take advantage of up to $7,000 in rebates on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 with eligible trade-in. And for serious capability, get $500 bonus cash on a new 2026 GMC 3500. See the full lineup today at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland or online at hurlchev.com.
From drive-through banking to mobile deposit, we make it easy to get things done on your schedule. Banking should fit your life, not the other way around. This is Jessica Von Lintel at F&B Bank. Banking made simple.
In a small town, your banker should know more than just your account number. They should know your name. At F&B Bank, we believe in real conversations, friendly faces, and decisions made right here at home. I'm Paige Sneathen, Vice President at F&B Bank, and we're proud to serve your family like our own. Member FDIC.
Roof's worn out and it needs replaced. Who are you gonna call?
Roof Masters!
Roof Masters Roofing at Colby has been your premier roofing contractor for over 40 years, offering free estimates on all types of roofs, as well as seamless rain gutters and vinyl siding. So give us a call today. What's that number, Jake?
462-6642. I think you better call
Roof Masters!
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The Insurance Agency. Insurance the way it should be.
It's the Morning Blitz.
We're having a great time, couple of laughs, everything's nice.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left to go on a Wednesday show. Thanks to Joe Tillery. Thanks to the text line. Been a fun show today. Appreciate all the input. Rockies lose yesterday. Kind of hit on this earlier in the show, but they lose to the Blue Jays 5-1. Max Scherzer was sharp last night. Scherzer goes out there, throws 6, gives up just 4 hits, 1 run, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. The Rockies do get 1 run. It was in the top of the 6th, a Hunter Goodman homer. Some consider it a first homer of the season for who some consider to be the best player on the Rockies team this year. Some people. I think Ezekiel Tovar's had a good start there. He had a hit as well yesterday, but Rockies offense once again struggling in pitching. Ryan Feltner worked 3 innings and then got hit on a 106-mile-an-hour ball coming back towards him. I think it hit him in like the hip. Sounds like he's just got a bad bruise. He'll be okay going forward, but the bullpen struggled a little bit there, including Zach Agnes, who's struggled here over the last couple of outings for him. So they may have to look at some different people in the back end of the pin for the Rockies. It's been a tough start for Zach for sure. But that series wraps up. That's tied up at a game apiece. That series will wrap up today. It's 11:05 Mountain Time first pitch between the Rockies and the Blue Jays. And after a odd day off, the Royals are back taking on the Twins in game 2 of that series. That is the first pitch time of 6:40 Central Time on AM 790 KXXX. College baseball yesterday, a great day for college baseball teams. Kansas beats Missouri 11-8. They've actually won 5 in a row over Missouri. Another great performance from Tyson LeBlanc, who had a 3-run homer late to get the win. It was a game where KU jumped out big, Missouri came back, and then Kansas had a little bit at the end to get it done. K-State didn't have any trouble with BYU. They crushed the Cougars 16-3 last night. They had 6 home runs in the win. D. Kennedy and A.J. Avasco had 2 homers and 5 RBI each. What a performance from those 2 guys. Nebraska, by the way, also holding on to beat Creighton. Enough to watch the game. I'm sure Steve did up in Binkman, but that was a dicey last out, wasn't it, Steve? Pop flying to center field, dealing with that great wind, and Mac Moyer, the center fielder, overran it and had to run back and get it and made the catch. If he would have dropped it, I think Creighton would have won in walk-off fashion. That's how it would have gone, but the Huskers get another win. They've now won, 18 of their last 19. Going into a weekend series this week. I think it's against Penn State this weekend. Yeah, I think they're up at Happy Valley. So, yeah. And then last and certainly not least, saw news yesterday that Colby High School football has named a new head football coach. Welcome to the area, Dakota Brewer, I think is how you say his last name, Dakota Brewer, coming to Colby from Republic County. He'd been there since 2020 as an assistant coach. He's been offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator. He's been in all the roles pretty much except for head coach at Republic County since 2020. But he will come to Colby after being there since 2020, a graduate of Pike Valley High School. And also added bonus, has a wife and 3 kids. Every school district loves that. The more kids, the merrier. Every school district loves that. But welcome to the area. Dakota Brewer is the new head coach for Colby High School. So, yeah, Steve goes, yeah, that was scary at the end. GBR. Facts, Steve. Absolute facts. All right, let's get to the walk-off.
And back lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off three? Thomas to the 10. Difference going on in New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Well, NFL meetings are going on down in Arizona here this week, and Andy Reid was catching up with some media members, and Andy told the media, he said, don't be surprised if you see you-know-who out there at the beginning of the season. It sounds like Patrick Mahomes is way ahead of schedule in his recovery from knee surgery and could be ready for the season opener in September, as Mahomes has already started to return to throwing and continuing to rehab daily at the team facility. So no one's surprised here. Mahomes will be ready to go by the season opener, it sure sounds like, and I'm just not shocked. I mean, Mahomes has got the drive to get better right away, and he's probably got the most elite training staff of his own personal and at the Chiefs to get him back up on his feet. I'm not surprised one bit to possibly see him starting on game number 1 in September for the Chiefs. All right, that does it for our program today. As always, thank you to Joe Tillery. Thanks to you for listening. We'll see you tomorrow in 23 hours. Been the Blitz.
Rocket 102.